How's it going, everyone? And this video is about street riding cornering tips. So first, why another video about cornering and about street riding? So most crashes happen in corners. Most fatalities are single vehicle fatalities, and you're all by yourself. You mess up a corner, no one else around. You make a mistake due to a lot of reasons and you crash. I've seen many people crash right in front of me, behind me, at the track, on the street, everywhere. Cornering. And that's because the most skill is needed for cornering. It doesn't take too much skill just to go roll on the throttle in a straight line. And for street riding especially, there's so many different variables, and for every single corner, all these variables could change. The pace that you're going, the line that you're choosing, where you're looking, how you steer the bike, the grip of your tires at that moment. Is your tire pressure good? Do you have bald tires, old tires, blind or open corners? What's the camber of the ground? Like, is it banked like NASCAR? Is it tilted one way or the other? What's the surface like? What's the weather like? What's the temperature? What's your skill? Are you trying to go really fast to impress other people or keep up? Is there other people behind you trying to go? There's so many different variables, right? So that's why cornering videos is, I have a whole entire playlist on them, and the reason why it's so important to understand how to turn the bike properly. So how do you manage intersections, on and off ramps, and then out in the twisty mountain roads, or any actual turn, like kind of isolated by itself, for a whole route of turns or whatever else? So first, intersections. When you're going through an intersection, keep in mind the main point is just to get through the intersection without getting into an accident. So this is mostly about your judgment than anything else. So I made a couple other videos talking about intersections already, but if you're making a left-hand turn, 99% of the time, you're not going to be going outside, inside, outside, or something like that, like you would on a track or something. There could be, grooves in the ground, potholes, gravel, people walking right here. There could be so many different variables. If you're taking a right-handed turn, well, the main thing is make sure no one's turning this way, no one's going to blow through the red light or green light, or say this is a four-way stop sign. Just get through. And everybody's line will be a little bit different. It all depends on the variables at that moment. You see what I'm saying? If you're making a left-hand turn, a lot of times this whole area right here, or sometimes more places than this, there's a whole bunch of gravel and grass and rocks. So again, if you're making a left-hand turn, say this is a green light, you have the green light, you're making a left-hand turn, the same thing, right? So look both ways, make sure traffic is actually stopped. When you're going through, you're not gonna be going outside, inside, outside. You're not doing those types of things for intersections. Just whatever your line dictates will be determined by the environment you have. Make sure these people are actually stopping, you're not cutting anybody off, right? There's so many different variables, but intersections is a big problem. That's where most multi-vehicle collisions occur. So it's mainly about your judgment and being aware of your environment, right? You're not actually doing the cornering strategy techniques. You have to make the bike turn, got it, but intersections, just go through them at an easy pace, and just your line and what you're doing and how you take the turn is all dependent on so many different variables. Just keep in mind, intersections, when I talk about cornering videos, I am not talking about intersections. Next, you have on-ramps and off-ramps. So say traffic is all going this way, right? And you're merging on. So on the on-ramp, like you need to accelerate, you need to get up to the flow of traffic. If there's a big, huge semi right here, right? And you're going along, and say you guys are up here now, here's the semi, and then here's you, and you're waiting for the semi to slow down to let you in. That's not their responsibility. It is your responsibility to either accelerate and get in front, or you slow down and get behind. You need to speed up and then use your blinkers, look over your shoulder, and make sure and merge into traffic and do what you need to do. As you're coming up through to get onto the on-ramp, again, this is not where 90% of the time you're not going to be doing, outside, inside, outside cornering strategy. There could be cars backed up right here. There could be a light waiting for people to go, one or two cars at a time. There could be a bunch of people lined up waiting to go. There could be gravel on the road. There could be all different types of things. So again, this is not the place where a lot of my cornering videos is relevant. This is not a corner of what I'm talking about. This is just, holy crap, you're going onto the highway, pay attention to what's going on. Use whatever line is necessary at that moment, depending on your level of grip and what's around, the circumstances, other cars, etc. For off-ramps, you're already going down the highway, all right? And you want to get off, so use your blinker, get off, and again, the same thing applies. There might be a stoplight right here. This might turn into an intersection. There might be cars already backed up, all different types of things. And just from a California point of view, if there's only one lane going one direction, there's cars backed up, just because your bike can fit, that does not mean you could go lane split next to the cars. There needs to be 2 or more lanes going in the same direction, and your only option is up the middle if you decide to lane split. So keep in mind, there's a whole bunch of cars right here, and you get off the on-ramp, where your job is just to wait. Now, if there's a car right here, I do not recommend stopping right behind dead center of the back of the car, because you're likely to get rear-ended and you don't have an escape path. So if cars are backed up on an off-ramp and you're on your motorcycle, park on the extreme left or the extreme right, just in case this person is texting, not paying attention, and they get a little bit too close. Well, then you have an escape route. Then you can go next to the car, just because you don't want to get hit from the back. So just keep that in mind. Next, you're out in the twisty mountain roads, right? A lot of different variables. So say you're going left. So this is where the line selection and cornering techniques make a whole lot more sense, and there's more useful. And remember all the variables I said earlier, so it all depends on your pace and what the corner is, the camber, the ground, blind corner, open corner. But if it's a big open corner and there's no traffic, just like this, just like the picture says, we want to start on the outside, you probably come towards the inside, and then kind of drift back out to the outside, because you want to make a straight line as you're going through the corner. But everything kind of changes if this is a big mountain or a whole bunch of trees, and now it's a blind corner. Well, if it's a blind corner, you still want to start on the outside. Like, this part doesn't really change. But if it's a blind corner, you don't know if there's a car coming with big old mirrors, right? Now, outside, inside, outside is probably not the best strategy if there's an oncoming car. Now you want to go outside and probably middle, and then go back out to the outside. You see what I'm saying? So it all depends. Now, if it's raining outside and it's off camber, well, you're just going to go a whole lot slower. Your line selection will change. I don't want to ride anywhere in the middle of the lane at all if it's raining. You see what I'm saying? Because that's car tracks ride right here. You want to ride in the tracks of the vehicle in front of you. And if I'm going left through a blind corner and it's all wet, I'm probably going to ride on the outside track versus the inside track. It all depends. There's a lot of different variables. So just keep in mind, there's no one right complete, this is the way how to do this one corner. Even the same corner. So let's go back to the way it was the first time, right? You have a left-handed turn, and it's perfectly dry, 80 degrees, perfect grip, no cars, open corner, everything is good. One person might use this line. The very next person behind them might do this. The very next person might do this. The very next person might do that. It all depends on a lot of different things. What's your skill? But what's the pace that you're going? How fast are you going? Right? Are you comfortable with the corner? Is it a familiar road, unfamiliar road? There's so many different variables. So just, my whole thing is try to learn everything, study everything, read every book, take every course possible. Learn there's many ways to do one thing, and it depends on all the things I just mentioned, right? Same thing with like a bunch of turns back to back. So you're going through, again, pace and everything else I just mentioned, but you're about to go right. So you start towards the outside. Say it's an open corner. You know, come in, well, you probably go like this, come in towards the middle, then go back like that. And now you have a left-hand turn. So you want to get yourself back over here and maybe do something like that, like your line selection. Or you're like, I'm just going to ride dead center in the middle. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to ride in the middle. That's no problem. Say you're going 20 miles per hour. But now let's say this is a blind turn again. Well, if it's a blind turn, I want to stay on the outside until I can actually see the exit, and then I'll dip it in, right? Now there's a whole bunch of cars right here on the opposite side. I can't really see too far around the corner, right? I'll stay on the outside again until I can see, and then might dip it in. A lot of variables to think about. Let's say you're going this way. You're going up, you're going up, you're going up. This is a blind turn. Let's say there's a mountain right there. So you have a right-hand turn. You want to stay on the outside until you can actually see the exit. Okay, there's the exit. You dip it in. Now you realize there's a left. So you want to start way back on the outside again. Wait, dip it in. And if this is a blind corner, well then outside, middle, outside. If it's an open corner and there's no cars, well then you could probably dip it in a little bit closer to the yellow line if you want to. A lot of variables. A lot of variables. I have a big old 180-degree turn, right? Same thing. Stay on the outside. Wait, and maybe you won't actually get close to the yellow line or the middle to like the very exit, because this is a big old blind corner, and maybe there's cars coming the opposite direction. It all depends. But if it's an open corner and there's no cars, well, maybe you'll start on the outside, maybe you'll come in towards the inside and then go back out towards the outside because it's an open corner and there's no cars. Now let's take this whole road and off camber it. All right, so the road is coming up like this, but now this side is higher than this side. It gets lower, and the whole road is like that. Well, that's like NASCAR. That's going to be a pretty fun turn to go through. But if it's banked the opposite direction, you'd automatically go slower. Maybe your line will change. I know a lot of people that write to me or they comment and they say, well, I just stay in the center of the lane all the time, and that's why I only ride ever. I don't do outside, inside. I don't care about any of that stuff. I think it's pointless. Okay, well, maybe at the pace you're riding, it doesn't seem like it's relevant to you until something happens to where you're in the middle of a corner, and now there's a 2x4 or a whole bunch of gravel and oil or a dead squirrel. Now you may have to change your line or do something different that you weren't expecting. It's public road riding. It's too many unvariables or unknown variables you don't know. So that's why it's important to learn everything. That doesn't mean you'll use every tool for every ride, obviously. So public roads, right? You have gravel, you have sand, you have animals, dead or alive. You have rocks on the road, you have other cars, you have other riders, right? You have potholes, uneven pavement, blind turns, two-way traffic. Because of all these unknown variables, that is the responsibility of you as the rider to become really good, to know how to manage and handle all these different things. So you can't control any of these different things, right? But what you do know, what you do control, is what gear you wear, what the pace that you're going, what's the risk you're willing to take. Are you actually aware of who's in front of you, who's behind you, who's to the left, who's to the right? What are you deciding or not deciding to do? What's your choices that you're making that day? Who are you riding with? Who you hang out with says a lot about you. So maybe don't ride with people that are going balls to the wall and going 100 miles per hour on the public roads. That's probably not the best influence to have, right? You decide where you're going. If you're a newer rider, well, maybe not go on a twisty mountain road that's 36 miles of twisty mountain roads within your first week of riding. That's probably not the best idea. You do have control of how many courses you take. You can watch a whole bunch of videos. You can read a whole lot of books. You can always have a positive attitude. You can look for the good things in life. There's a lot of things about what you control. But public road riding, you don't control a whole lot of stuff. That is why it is so incredibly important to be aware and use your judgment first. It's always judgment before skill, and it's always skill before technology. You see what I'm saying? So judgment, what you decide, don't decide to do. Are you aware of who's behind you, left you, everything? That's always number one first before you actually use your skills. Learn how to do emergency braking, learn how to swerve, learn how to corner. I got it. It's just, and have those things available to you. But the better rider doesn't go over the pothole. They just see it early enough and move around it. You see what I'm saying? The better rider doesn't lane split at 90 miles per hour and they have to swerve to avoid a car that switched lanes. The better rider just doesn't put themselves in those situations. You see what I'm saying? So this is what you want to do. So riding in general, just being on a motorcycle, is 38 times more dangerous than driving a car. That means 3,800% more dangerous. For every mile ridden, you're 38 times more likely to die just because you're on a motorcycle. So what you want to do is get your skill up really, really damn high and only take the minimum amount of risk. It's already going to be dangerous. The risk is already high no matter what you do, because just the fact that you're on a motorcycle. You always want this graph to be like this, right? Your skill is way, way above your risk. You can also think about this as pace, like how fast you're actually deciding to do. How people crash and die on motorcycles a whole lot is they take this much risk, they're going this pace, they're going this damn fast, and then this is their skill. And unfortunately, there's a lot of riders like this. They're barely good enough to get from here to there without hurting themselves badly, right? Be the other one. Have your skill up really high. And if your skill is this high and you're riding at this, right? You're at this, you're taking this much risk, this pace. Well, when you're doing that, if this is your skill and that's your pace, hopefully you're at a course where you can actually practice and push, or you're at a track day. Like I just crashed at Apex Track and I was pushing my pace. I was willing to accept the risk. Here's my skill, and I was really close. I was like 95% of everything I had going through it, and I crashed. I learned a whole lot of things. Good thing I was at a track, full quality gear, no oncoming traffic, no, there's big runoff. You just slide, there's no issue. I stood the bike back up, I chilled out for 15 minutes, I got back on the bike, I rode for another 2 hours. So when you decide to push, hopefully you're in an enclosed environment, like a motorcycle course that you're actually practicing, or in a big empty parking lot trying to do some things, or you're at a track. Right? But to take this much risk, go this fast, and this is your skill, and you're doing that also on the public roads, oh my gosh, come on, it's just not smart. So thanks for watching everyone. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight. Remember to like, subscribe, share, put on the notification bell, fly a pigeon, send smoke signals, tell everybody about it. And then Danny Walker said at American Super Camp, I wrote it down, I want to make everyone old riders, old motorcyclists, right? And you're not going to do that too well if you're taking an insane amount of risk or you're doing it at such a crazy pace and you don't have the skill for it. And if there's one thing you do that you practice every single week is stopping the bike, emergency braking. If that's one thing you do, that's what I recommend. Learn to stop that bike, master the brakes. Or like Keith Culver says in Champ School, Yamaha Champions Riding School, become a master braker. Because anybody can twist the throttle, not many people really know how to slow that bike down whenever they want to. So get used to those brakes. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.